Before we get into this story, and trust me, you are going to want to be sitting down for this one. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we post new stories every week and you do not want to miss what's coming. Okay, now, let's talk about the most embarrassing, most complicated, most specifically humiliating thing that has ever happened to me in 17 years of living in Hartzell, Alabama. There is a specific kind of humiliation that only exists in small towns. It's not the loud kind, not the kind where someone dumps a bucket of something on your head at prom. No, small town humiliation is quieter than that. It lives in the grocery store. It sits next to you at church. It waves at you from across the football field on a Friday night, and somehow, it always knows your name. My name is Savannah Lee Calloway. I'm 17 years old. I live in Hartselle, Alabama. Population just enough people to make your business everybody's business. And up until the third week of September, I was doing just fine. I want to be clear about that. I was fine. I had been fine for 2 years, ever since Mama started dating Richard Hale, and I made the very mature, very collected decision to be happy for her. I smiled at Sunday dinners. I passed the sweet tea. I said, "Yes, sir," to Richard, and laughed at his jokes about Auburn football, even though I am, and always will be, a Crimson Tide household. I was the picture of a well-adjusted teenage girl. I had my best friend, Cassidy Monroe, who stress-ate cheerwine and cheese crackers during every crisis, and was therefore always slightly orange-fingered. I had my journal, I had my grades, I had a perfectly organized, perfectly manageable life. What I did not have was any warning whatsoever about Mason Hale. He showed up on a Tuesday, which is already suspicious because nothing good ever happens on a Tuesday in Hartzell. He walked into AP English like he'd been there 1,000 times, found a seat 2 rows over from mine, and had the absolute nerve to look like that while doing it. Tall, dark-haired, quiet in the way that made you wonder what he was thinking rather than assuming he wasn't thinking anything at all. He had his father's eyes. I didn't know that yet. I just thought he had very nice eyes. Cassidy leaned over within approximately 4 seconds. "Savannah," she whispered, "do you see him?" "I see him," I whispered back. "He looks like a Nicholas Sparks cover." She was not wrong. He looked exactly like someone who would stand in the rain for you and mean it. His name, I learned from Mrs. Patterson's roll call, was Mason. Mason Hale.
Mason Hale?
And I want you to note that I registered absolutely nothing unusual about that last name. Hale is not an uncommon name in Morgan County. I stored it nowhere important. I moved on. For 3 weeks, I was quietly, productively, completely in like with Mason Hale. Not love. I want to be precise. It was the kind of feeling that lives in your collarbone, warm and specific and not yet dangerous. He borrowed a pencil from me on Wednesday of the 2nd week. He gave it back, sharpened. I thought about that for longer than I will ever admit out loud. He was always alone at lunch. I noticed that. Cassidy noticed that I noticed, which meant I had to spend considerable energy pretending I hadn't noticed. He sat by the window in the cafeteria with a book, always a different book, and he never looked around the room the way new kids usually do, hunting for somewhere to belong. He just read. Like he'd already decided belonging wasn't on the agenda. Something about that felt familiar in a way I couldn't name yet.
I was looking at the window. He happens to be near the window.
The window is behind you, Savannah.
I was looking at the reflection of the window.
That is the saddest thing you have ever said. Can you please eat your crackers?
I did not speak to Mason Hale directly until the 3rd week, when we were both assigned to the same group project in AP English, an analysis of theme and loss in Southern literature, which felt pointed, honestly, given what was about to happen to my life. We met at the Hartzell Public Library on a Thursday afternoon. He was already there when I arrived. He'd pulled 3 books from the shelves and stacked them in order of relevance. I know because I asked him, and he told me, completely seriously, that he'd arranged them by relevance. Not alphabetically, not by size, by relevance. I thought that was one of the most interesting things I'd ever heard a 17-year-old boy say. We talked for 2 hours, not just about the project, about books, about Alabama in August, the specific weight of the heat, the way it sits on your shoulders like something that loves you too much. He'd moved here from Decatur. Not far, but far enough that Hartzell felt foreign to him, he said. Too quiet in the wrong places. Do you like it here? I asked him. I think I'm starting to, he said. And he didn't look at me when he said it. He looked at the window, which, for the record, was actually in front of him. I drove home that Thursday with the windows down and the radio up, and Carrie Underwood telling me something was about to change. I should have taken that as a warning. I did not take that as a warning. Mama was in the kitchen when I got home. She was making her good cornbread, not the weeknight cornbread, but the Sunday company cornbread, the kind with the extra butter and the cast iron skillet at 7:30 on a Thursday evening. What's the occasion? I asked. She turned around with a smile that was doing too much work. Richard's coming for dinner, she said, and he's bringing Mason. The cast iron skillet was very loud in that moment, or maybe that was just my brain. Mason, I said. Mason. Richard's son, Mason? You know Richard has a son, sweetheart. I did know that. I had known that for 2 years. I had simply never once connected the name Mason Hale, Richard Hale's son, to the boy with the very nice eyes who arranged library books by relevance. I stood in my mother's kitchen in Hartzell, Alabama, and understood for the first time what people mean when they say the floor fell out from under them. It's not a metaphor. It is a genuine physical sensation. The linoleum just goes.
Cassidy, I need you to stay calm. I am always calm. I am the calmest person you know. Mason Hale is Richard's son. Cassidy? I'm calm. I'm completely calm. I'm so calm I've left my body. What do I do? You do nothing. You survive dinner. You never speak of the pencil again. He sharpened it, Cassidy. I know he did. I'm so sorry.
Dinner was a masterclass in performance. I have performed fine for 2 years, at Sunday dinners, at Richard's birthday, at every quiet moment where Mama looked at me like she needed me to be okay, so she could be okay too. I know how to set my face into something that looks like ease. I have practiced it until it fits like a second skin. Mason saw through it in approximately 11 minutes. I know because he said nothing during dinner. He was polite. He answered Richard's questions. He complimented Mama's cornbread, which, to be fair, deserved to be complimented. But twice, I caught him looking at me the way I'd looked at him in the cafeteria. Not with anything romantic, something quieter than that, something that looked uncomfortably like recognition. After dinner, Richard and Mama moved to the porch the way adults do when they want to talk about things without witnesses. Mason and I cleared the table. We did it in silence for a long moment. Then he said, without looking up from the dishes, "You knew, didn't you? At the library." "No," I said. "I genuinely did not know." "Okay," he said, and then, "This is strange." "Yes," I said, "this is extremely strange." He almost smiled. Not quite, but almost. That night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling fan that has needed a new pull chain since 2019, I told myself the feeling in my collarbone was gone, resolved, neatly filed away in a folder labeled "Absolutely Not," and placed in a cabinet I would never open again. What I did not tell myself, what I was very careful not to think about, was the other thing. The thing that had nothing to do with Mason at all. Mama had made the good cornbread, the Sunday company cornbread, and as I lay there in the dark, I realized she hadn't made it for a dinner party or a holiday or a special occasion. She'd made it because she was about to ask me something, and she already knew she needed me to say yes. They announced the engagement 4 days later. Sunday morning, after church, in the living room with the good pillows on the couch. Richard held Mama's hand, and she looked at me with that smile again, the one that was doing too much work, and I said the thing I always say. "I'm so happy for you, Mama." And I was. I want to be clear about that, too. I was happy for her. Mama had been alone for a long time, and Richard was a good man who made her laugh at things that weren't even funny, which is honestly the most you can hope for in a partner. But somewhere underneath the happiness, underneath all the fine and the yes ma'am and the past sweet tea, something was sitting very still and very quiet, and it had been sitting there for 2 years, and it was tired.
You don't have to do that, you know?
Do what?
The smile. The everything's fine thing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe he just didn't know how to say it.
Maybe it does.
Does it? I'm not trying to be mean. I recognize it, that's all.
How long did it take you to stop?
I'll let you know when I get there.
I cried for the first time that night. Not about Mason, not about the engagement exactly. I cried for something I didn't have a clean word for. The particular grief of realizing you have been carefully, lovingly, completely left out of the center of someone's story. Not abandoned, never abandoned. Mama loved me fiercely. But she had been building a new life with new rooms, and she had furnished all of them before she thought to ask where I wanted to sit. I'm not angry about it. I need you to understand that. I understand why she did it. She needed to be happy in a way that didn't depend on me, and that is actually a healthy thing for a mother to do. It just hurt. That's all. It just hurt in a way I hadn't let myself feel until a boy with his father's eyes looked at me across a dinner table and saw straight through my performance like it was window glass. The weeks after the engagement were strange and full of logistics. Mama and Richard set a date for the following June. There was talk of what to do about the houses. Richard would sell his in Decatur, move to Hartzell. Mason would finish his senior year here. We would become, in the eyes of the law and the neighborhood and the entire population of Morgan County, a family. Mason and I reached a kind of equilibrium. We were not awkward exactly. We were careful. We talked about books and about AP English and about the specific cruelty of Alabama humidity in October, which somehow hadn't broken yet. We did not talk about the library. We did not talk about pencils. Cassidy, for her part, had moved through shock, grief, and acceptance and arrived at a place she called narratively blessed. She told me my life was the most interesting one she knew and that I had a responsibility to journal every detail. I told her she was orange-fingered and unhelpful. She said those two things were not mutually exclusive. It was a Saturday in November when everything that had been sitting still and quiet inside me finally stood up. Mama and Richard had gone to Huntsville for the afternoon, some wedding venue they wanted to look at, which, fine, wonderful. I was happy for them. Mason was in the living room reading. I came downstairs for water and found him on the couch, looking not at his book, but at the window. In that way he had, like the window contained information the book didn't. I sat down on the other end of the couch, not close, just in the same room. Do you ever feel like you're watching your own life from slightly outside it? I asked. I don't know why I asked it. It came out before I could stop it. He looked at me, considered the question seriously, the way he considered everything. Yeah, he said, since I was about 13. And that was it. That was the thing that cracked me open. Not a declaration, not a dramatic moment, just two kids on a couch in Hartzell, Alabama, admitting to each other that they had been standing slightly to the left of their own lives for longer than was probably healthy.
I told my mom I was happy about the engagement.
Were you?
Part of me was. The part that loves her.
And the other part?
The other part has been waiting for 2 years for her to ask how I actually feel. Not if I'm okay, how I actually feel.
Did you ever tell her?
No, I just kept making it easier for her.
Yeah. I do that too.
How do we stop?
I think we just say the true thing, even when it's inconvenient.
That sounds terrifying.
It really does.
When Mama got home that evening, I was sitting at the kitchen table, not performing, not arranged into something easier to look at, just sitting there with my hands around a mug of chamomile tea that had gone cold, waiting. She came in carrying a brochure about table centerpieces, and she stopped when she saw my face. "Savannah?" she said. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," I said. And then, because Mason had told me to say the true thing even when it was inconvenient, I need to tell you something. And I need you to not immediately tell me you love me, because I know you love me, and that's not what this is about. She set down the brochure. She sat across from me. She gave me her whole face, the way she used to when I was little and had something important to say. "I've been really lonely," I told her. "Not because of you, not because of Richard. Just, I've been lonely, and I've been pretending not to be for so long that I forgot I was doing it. And I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to be the easy part of your life. I want to be the real part." Mama's eyes filled up. She reached across the table and took both my hands in hers and held them the way you hold something you're afraid of losing. "You have always been the realest part," she said. "I'm so sorry I made you feel otherwise." We sat there for a long time. The kitchen was quiet except for the refrigerator hum, and somewhere outside, a mockingbird doing impressions of everything it had ever heard, which is a very Alabama thing for a bird to do. Later, I passed Mason in the hallway on the way to my room. He looked at me, at my face, which I hadn't arranged into anything in particular, and he nodded, once, like, "Good." Here is what I know now that I didn't know in September. I never had a crush on Mason Hale. What I had was recognition. I saw someone who had learned the same survival skill I had, the performance of fine, and something in me reached toward him before my brain had the language to understand why. He's going to be my stepbrother. We are going to share a kitchen and argue over the thermostat and disagree about football teams probably until we are old. That is what we are to each other, and it is good, and it is enough. But I am grateful. I am so genuinely, specifically grateful that he walked into AP English on a Tuesday and sat 2 rows over and had the kindness to look at me like he could see the real version, not the arranged one, not the fine one, the real one. And I am even more grateful that when it mattered, I finally let her be seen. That's the thing about small towns. Everybody knows your name. Everybody knows your business. But the person who actually knows you, really knows you, that's rarer than you'd think. And sometimes, in the most inconvenient and unexpected and specifically Alabama way possible, they end up at your dinner table. If this story hit different for you, if you've ever smiled through something that was quietly breaking you, drop a comment below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a good time. We'll see you in the next one.